Imagine being the most powerful man on earth, yet haunted by a vision you can't comprehend.
This was the unsettling reality for Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, whose sleep was shattered by dreams that held the key to his kingdom's fate.
But to understand how these dreams would change everything, we have to rewind to where the story of the dreamer begins. Not with a king, but with a favored son.
It was a time of bitter jealousy for the sons of Jacob. Their younger brother, Joseph, was their father's favorite, a fact made painfully clear by the gift of a beautiful, ornate coat. But it wasn't just the coat that fueled their resentment. Joseph had dreams, powerful dreams, he naively shared with his family.
He dreamed of sheaves of wheat, his brother's sheaves bowing down to his own. He dreamed of the sun, the moon, and 11 stars all bowing before him.
The message was clear. One day, he would rule over them all.
This wasn't just youthful arrogance.
It was a prophecy, but his brothers saw it as a threat.
Their hatred grew until it boiled over one fateful day. Seeing Joseph approaching from a distance, they plotted against him.
Here comes the dreamer, they sneered. They stripped him of his precious coat, a symbol of their father's love and their own deep-seated envy, and threw him into a dry pit, leaving him to die.
But even in their cruelty, a flicker of greed, or perhaps a sliver of conscience, changed their minds. When a caravan of Ishmaelites heading to Egypt passed by, they sold their own brother into slavery for 20 pieces of silver. To cover their crime, they dipped his coat in goat's blood and presented it to their father. Jacob, who was left to believe his beloved son had been devoured by a wild beast, his heart was shattered, and he mourned for years, never knowing the truth.
Joseph was taken to Egypt, a foreign land where he was nothing but a commodity.
He was sold to Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. But even in this lowly state, Joseph was not alone.
God was with him, and everything he touched prospered. Potiphar saw this and quickly promoted Joseph, putting him in charge of his entire household.
For a time, it seemed Joseph's fortunes were turning.
He was trusted, respected, and successful. But this period of peace was about to be shattered by a different kind of temptation. Potiphar's wife saw the handsome young Hebrew and was filled with desire. Day after day, she tried to seduce him, but Joseph refused. "My master has entrusted me with everything in his house," he told her.
How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? His integrity was uncheckable. But one day, when they were alone in the house, she grabbed him by his cloak, pleading with him.
In his haste to escape her clutches, he fled, leaving his garment in her hand.
Scorned and furious, she used the cloak as false evidence. She screamed, accusing Joseph of attacking her. When Potiphar returned, his wife's lies filled him with rage.
Without a second thought, he threw Joseph into the royal prison, a place for the king's prisoners. Once again, Joseph was stripped of his status, his freedom, and his reputation, all because he chose to do what was right. Even in the darkness of the prison, a place of despair and forgotten men, Joseph's story was not over.
The Lord was still with him.
He soon found favor with the prison warden, who, like Potiphar before him, saw that Joseph was special.
The warden placed all the other prisoners under Joseph's care, trusting him completely.
Joseph's divine gift for interpreting dreams, the very thing that had led to his brother's hatred, would soon re-emerge, not as a source of conflict, but as a beacon of hope.
Two of Pharaoh's own officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, were thrown into the same prison after offending their king.
One morning, Joseph found them both looking dejected. "Why do you look so sad today?" he asked with genuine concern. They told him they had each had a dream but had no one to interpret them.
"Do not interpretations belong to God?"
Joseph replied.
"Tell me your dreams." The chief cupbearer went first. "In my dream," he said, "I saw a vine with 3 branches.
It budded, blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and gave the cup to him." Joseph's interpretation was swift and full of hope. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position. You will put his cup in his hand, just as you used to do. Then Joseph made a personal plea. "But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison." Next, the chief baker, encouraged by the good news, shared his dream. "I too had a dream," he began.
On my head were 3 baskets of white bread.
In the top basket were all sorts of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. The mood shifted as Joseph delivered the grim interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days.
Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole.
And the birds will eat away your flesh 3 days later, on Pharaoh's birthday. It all came to pass exactly as Joseph had foretold.
The chief cupbearer was restored to his post, once again serving wine to the king.
The chief baker was executed. Joseph's gift was undeniable, his connection to the divine proven.
Yet, in his moment of relief and celebration, the cupbearer forgot his promise.
He didn't remember the young Hebrew man who had given him hope in the depths of the prison. Joseph was left behind, forgotten in his cell, for 2 more long years. It seemed his act of kindness, his divine gift, had been for nothing.
But God's timing is not our own.
Joseph was not just being left to languish. He was being positioned for a far greater purpose, one that would affect not just him, but an entire nation.
2 full years passed. Then, one night, Pharaoh, the undisputed king of Egypt, had 2 dreams that left him deeply troubled.
In the first dream, he was standing by the Nile River when 7 sleek, fat cows came up out of the water and began grazing. A moment later, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up from the Nile and stood beside them, and the ugly, gaunt cows ate the 7 sleek, fat cows.
Pharaoh awoke with a start, his heart pounding. He fell back asleep, only to dream again.
This time, he saw a single stalk of grain with 7 heads, healthy and good.
Then, 7 other heads of grain sprouted after them, thin and scorched by the east wind, and the 7 thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads.
In the morning, Pharaoh's spirit was troubled. He summoned all the magicians and wise men of Egypt, the most learned men in the most powerful kingdom on earth. He told them his dreams, but none of them could interpret their meaning.
They were baffled, their wisdom falling short. It was at this moment of complete failure that the chief cupbearer's memory was finally jolted. "Today, I am reminded of my shortcomings," he said to Pharaoh.
"When I was imprisoned with the chief baker, a young Hebrew man, a servant of the captain of the guard, was there with us.
We each had a dream, and he interpreted them for us, and everything happened just as he said it would." Pharaoh didn't hesitate.
He sent for Joseph immediately.
They rushed him from the dungeon, and he shaved and changed his clothes before being brought into the royal court. Pharaoh looked at the young man standing before him. "I have had a dream," the king said, "and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it." Joseph's reply was humble and direct, giving all credit away from himself. "I cannot do it," Joseph replied to Pharaoh, "but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Pharaoh recounted his 2 disturbing dreams, the fat and gaunt cows, the healthy and withered grain. As he listened, Joseph saw not 2 separate dreams, but one single, powerful message from God.
"The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same," Joseph declared. "God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do.
The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream."
The 7 lean, ugly cows and the 7 worthless heads of grain are 7 years of famine. The interpretation was breathtaking in its scope. Joseph explained that there would be 7 years of great abundance throughout all the land of Egypt.
But following them, 7 years of devastating famine would arise, so severe that the abundance would be completely forgotten.
The land would be ravaged. The repetition of the dream, Joseph explained, meant that the matter was firmly decided by God, and God would make it happen soon.
But Joseph didn't stop there.
He didn't just provide an interpretation, he offered a solution, a divine strategy for survival.
"Now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, and put him in charge of the land of Egypt," Joseph advised. He laid out a detailed plan. Appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance.
They should gather all the food from the good years and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh, to be kept in the cities for food. This reserve would be the nation's salvation, to be used during the 7 years of famine, so that the country would not be destroyed.
The plan was brilliant, practical, and divinely inspired. Pharaoh and all his officials were amazed.
The king looked at his court, then back at the young Hebrew who stood before him.
"Can we find anyone like this man?" Pharaoh asked. one in whom is the Spirit of God.
Turning to Joseph, he declared, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders.
Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you."
In an instant, Joseph's life was transformed beyond anything he could have imagined. Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck.
He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Make way."
Joseph, the boy sold into slavery, the man falsely imprisoned and forgotten, was now the prime minister of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh himself. He was given a new Egyptian name, Saphanath-Paneah, and a wife, Asenath, the daughter of an Egyptian priest. The prophecy from his childhood dreams was coming true, not in the way he or his brothers had ever expected, but as part of a much larger divine plan to save a nation and his own family from starvation. What do you think? Did the cupbearer forget Joseph by accident, or was the 2-year delay a necessary part of God's plan to position Joseph perfectly for this exact moment?
Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories hidden within history.